also too, kind of from a research and, follow up as well. And so, for that, how do we start to think about, kind of automating that and putting time back into the sales reps' hands so that they could really be out there, actually selling themselves. And that's where that 25% ultimately comes from. And so there's a lot around, kind of sequences. We're not going to spend as much time on sequences, but it's a great, kind of tool, especially for, kind of prospecting or outreach, where you can, really personalize a lot of the outreach, but not have to worry about, did I follow up with that person? Did I send them, kind of that email when I was supposed to? You can have templates in here. You can have the personalization tokens, kind of with the contact first name, contact company name. And the more that we, can personalize that, the more effective you're going to see, kind of open rates and click-through rates and things of that nature when you're doing that initial, kind of outreach. And so for us, when we're talking about, kind of workflows, and, this is really on the sales and the CRM side of the workflows themselves. There's the marketing automation, kind of workflows, but really a lot of the time and energy that we're talking about here is going to be on the sales end and on the, CRM side itself. And so, kind of for us, what we want to try and do is make this faster, easier, have it be more accurate, and be able to report up to, senior leadership and management as much as possible. And so just a refresher, around life cycle stages and what to be able to look at. This is pretty standard. This comes, out of the box directly within HubSpot as lead, marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead, opportunity, and then ultimately customer. And so some of the workflows that we're putting in place today are going to be focused on moving people, farther down the funnel, from a life cycle stage standpoint. And so the first one is around updating properties. And there's some good properties that you can actually update within workflows. And these are the three that we're, primarily going to focus on itself. So territory, which is a custom property that you have to, kind of go through and build directly within HubSpot. And that could be a variety of different things from a location standpoint. Life cycle stage, like we mentioned, as a, a standard, kind of property. And then the last one being contact and company owner. Who is that contact or company that you're, directly dealing with as the sales rep or the sales team. And so the first one, with territory and focusing on, kind of from that leads life cycle stage, with the territory, you can have different assignments. So you could have it as state, first and foremost. You could do it as country. And then lastly, which can be, if you had to ever do this as a sales rep, a very manual and intensive process to do it by zip code. And so these are ones that can, be pre-populated yourself, with that import, or you can set it up as a custom, kind of parameter and manually enter it, kind of one time into the HubSpot tool and system.
So I have a question about that, if you don't mind. If instead of assigning territories by geography, if you assign it by vertical market, can you do that in HubSpot?
Yeah, you can. Okay. You would just want to call it something, label it a little bit, kind of differently, potentially if you're going to, from a nomenclature side, you have, kind of territory, and then you might want to do that by, kind of industry, and kind of just agree on what those industries are. But that's a great question, because this logic that we're building, you can do the same exact, kind of thing. You would just swap out, any kind of location for industry itself.
Perfect. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And so from an enrollment, kind of side, you can go in here, kind of create, kind of automation and just say, from a postal code is equal to any of these, kind of listed below, and you kind of have that drop down that you want to be able to put together. And then what we're going to set up is these different zones. And so this is a great way to cycle through leads, new leads that are coming in, and be able to filter that through to the individual sales rep or the sales group. And so for this sales territory, we just put it as a label as zone A, as a action into that contact or company, kind of property itself. And so that'll be the labeling first from that enrollment within the workflow. And then I'll show you how you can kind of like cycle through in a few slides, kind of after this. And then, the second part would be the lifecycle stage and that standard property that we talked about, where a lead can turn into a, kind of a marketing qualified lead. And so what are these sales ready, kind of actions that they're taking, come on the website? That could be a form submission that requests that consultation, form submission where they're requesting a quote. You could do it where they have they're viewing a pricing page specifically. Or if you're doing lead scoring, the contact property is a lead score of 135 or above, for instance. So all these we feel like are, taking a standard lead and turning them into a marketing qualified lead as a life cycle stage. And so, just being able to update that, kind of automatically. And the other thing I will, kind of bring up a little bit is there's also, kind of lead status in the CRM as a field. And so you can kind of have that as like a new lead or a rejected lead, closed, lost. This is just a way for, the sales rep themselves to be able to further categorize that, kind of contact property as well. And so what we want to do ultimately is still include in any workflow suppression list where maybe they're just unfit, unqualified contacts so that your sales reps aren't wasting time on leads that aren't qualified to buy. Maybe they're already in the sales process or they're already an existing customer. So this is really, kind of critical to, kind of put in place just to make sure you're not over communicating, kind of with your database. So anytime we're building a workflow, we really want to make sure that we have these suppression lists, kind of included, all the way, through. The customer probably being the most important, but if they're already being, kind of contacted, we want to make sure they're, kind of suppressed as well. And so what you can do then is, for us, there's building, kind of this list of who we're going to target for that workflow. Is that life cycle stage is any of, what we would consider a, kind of marketing qualified lead. And you can add all kinds of different, parameters, but we want to try and keep it a little simple from the, sales and the CRM side to be able to have that, the territory coupled with the marketing qualified lead that then can kind of like spin out these automations that we're talking about. And this all makes sense when it's kind of like, visual and kind of presented all on one slide. The last one that we'll talk a little bit about is other properties to kind of update within the workflows is a contact or a company owner, which is another, kind of standard out of the gate, kind of property. Again, we're focusing on how do we, these leads into marketing qualified leads is that workflow. And the lead assignment. So we'll have, if their territory is zone A and their life cycle stage is a marketing qualified lead, then we will rotate the leads to this group. I might recognize some of the people from the office. So, from that standpoint, this can start to cycle through from region. And then, I believe it's Julie that you had asked if you wanted to do it by industry, if you wanted to, kind of, if they're answering that question through a form or, anything along those lines from like a manual input, you could rotate that lead to a specific sales group that can be, kind of industry specific, and you could set that up directly within this, kind of workflow. And what's really nice is it'll automate. So if you have these leads that take those actions and turn into marketing qualified leads, they automatically get put in that bucket. And then, you can have the sales team, kind of notified of that new lead that has become a marketing qualified lead. And this workflow can then go into different zones. And again, the life cycle stage we have here is a kind of marketing qualified lead, and then these are the sales reps that would be kind of given those leads themselves. So this is just a very easy way from like an inbound standpoint to kind of like automate when your sales team is receiving those kind of new leads coming through. I'll stop here a little bit, kind of for some questions. I know that's a lot to kind of go through and cover from like a workflow standpoint, but any questions right now just about how we've, kind of set this up and how we would distribute the leads to the sales team themselves? Going once, going twice, and I'll keep going. And so what I like a lot, kind of with the tool is you can also automate the workflow to create a task. So there's two ways to do this. There's, a notification, which happens, kind of automatically from these workflows, but then there's also a task creation. I like it a little bit more to create the task, because then if you have your sales rep living in the system, it's one thing to see a notification. The notification could get lost and then you're not following up with that lead. But if it's creating a task, they physically have to check that box that task has been completed. And so this is just a really good way to keep track of kind of task and what the sales rep is doing, so that you make sure that follow-up is actually happening. And so from a management standpoint, we encourage a lot of our clients to have it as a task creation versus just a notification, due to the fact that could potentially be lost. And we can make this a little bit kind of back and forth if we want. I know we have a lot to kind of cover, so up to you guys. But are there does anyone currently have any properties that are automatically being updated by kind of workflows kind of currently?
This is Julie again. I'm not sure if we're updating the properties automatically. I think we are, but our marketing guy is not on the phone right now, and I don't know if Tim is still on or not.
Yeah.
He may have had to drop off. Is that happening automatically, Tim?
Not in the sales. After it becomes, a sales lead, sales qualified, we are updating.
Yeah, so that's a pretty and I will tell you, this has happened kind of recently, but the workflows and the automation that HubSpot has really put in place on the CRM on the sales side has been unbelievable. So you always think about all these workflows and automations from a marketing standpoint, but I will say on the sales that it's really come a long way since they've kind of like rolled this out. So definitely I'd encourage you, if you want to kind of like take a look at it. It's well worth it, because it can save your sales reps kind of a lot of time kind of going through from that automation, from the marketing all the way to the sales itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I look at this as a tool for productivity, and to me, the definition of productivity is balancing effectiveness with efficiency, and if we can use the tool to make it faster and easier for things to happen, that's what we want to do.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's what HubSpot set out to do. Definitely from a marketing perspective, we've seen it, but from a sales, I can't speak highly enough of, really that productivity, that efficiency that it does bring as a user of the tool. And then also what we're seeing, for clients. And this was really like, maybe you had a 5-person team, but we're deploying one right now with, they have 150, kind of sales reps, kind of in place, all using the system. And then you have the managers in different territories. So it's really been able to up level its like feature set to improve that, kind of efficiency and productivity as well. So if there's no questions, and again, that's just like a really easy, if you're, kind of in the management, I think more than anything, and you're getting these leads kind of coming in, that really helps, kind of distribute the leads and set up some of these, kind of workflows that are automatically updating these properties, and then, kind of notifying the sales rep as those, especially on the life cycle stage. That's just a really easy one in our opinion to kind of like update and get that action, so that, as they're making and moving down the funnel, that there's, kind of more interest based on those actions, then the sales rep's going to be that much more effective, I think, with the follow-up as well. Here's another one that we think is a good opportunity from like a workflow, kind of standpoint, and where I see with a lot of clients that they don't necessarily spend a lot of time, but if you can automate messaging and still keep it personalized, why not, in my opinion? Just because they've said no today doesn't mean that's no, tomorrow, or no, 6 months from now. So there's some neat, kind of workflows you can do from a lead rejection standpoint that we'll, kind of discuss a little bit more. And this is really, obviously more in the marketing qualified to sales qualified, where we're understanding, kind of where they're at in the buying process, and where we can feel a lot more confident getting that yes or no. And if obviously this is the no. So, creating that, kind of clear path to send those leads, kind of backwards, or, nurture them further, I think is going to be, kind of really important. And that's part of this exercise. So, step one, you want to create a lead, kind of rejection drop down, kind of property. This is a lot. This might not, it's one of those, is the juice worth the squeeze, but I just wanted to give you an example of all the different, kind of properties that you could set up, and, kind of put in place. So you could have bad timing, and then you could also have bad timing with the months, kind of have the follow-up, low budget, outside the sell-in region. So, maybe you open up that territory. You can have a workflow that, kind of lets the sales rep know all the, kind of leads that are in that specific territory, bad fit, government agency, spam, or, kind of a purchase from, kind of a competitor. So I always like in workflows to try and keep it simple at first, maybe just doing a few of these, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of all the, possible rejections that you could put as these custom properties within that field. And then what you want to do, the whole point of these properties is to automate based on the selected reason for, kind of that rejection. And so, maybe this is one where it's like 6 months is, kind of a bad timing. So we decided in this, kind of workflow that it's going to be every other month in the very beginning, that we'll send them just a basic, kind of marketing email. And then, that picks up by the 4th and the 5th month. And then the 6th month, it would automatically generate a task for that sales rep to reach out again. And so that's why we have these like different parameters based on, kind of follow up, where, the sales rep's not having to remember, they have this, kind of all automated as part of their task to be able to kind of put in place. And then it works really nice with the marketing, kind of campaigns to kind of see those triggers. I won't spend too much, time on this, but I think having some basic, kind of process in place for rejected leads is really, really valuable. Even if you only recoup 5 or 10% of that because you've spent all that effort, we just really think it's, kind of well worth the time to be able to kind of put in place as much as possible. Any questions about rejected leads or, kind of that like workflow? That's a pretty straightforward one, and one that, like I said, we find to be really effective.
Yeah, this is Caitlin from PCR. I was going to say we've actually built a few of these for a few clients, and we've structured it to where, instead of just a task at that, like kind of that reminder notice, if it was bad timing, we've automated an email where it looks like it's coming directly from the salesperson and, reaching back out to the lead where they just wanted to touch base to see if they're ready to kind of initiate that conversation. And then if any action is taken, whether they click on the email or they click on any of the links, that sales lead is notified. So it kind of just gives one, not just adds a task to the salesperson, but, we know that email's going out based on the timing. And we've actually seen really good response rate in terms of engagement click, but then, reintroducing those leads back into the more of the active sales cycle.
So are you using a sequence to do that or a workflow?
We're using a workflow.
Okay.
Yeah, and Julie, I'd be happy to. I know you had mentioned earlier you weren't sure if you guys are updating properties, automatically. So we'll make sure you've got our contact information after this. So feel free to ask us any specific questions. We're happy to jump on your account and look at ways that can be optimized, or even ways we can introduce some of these recommendations.
Awesome, thank you.
And I think too, from a management standpoint, you have these rejected leads. It's a really good way to see, on a granular level for the sales rep on, what are the common objections, and then, I think too, just trying to see, you can track it all the way to, all the way back to the campaign level as well, to see, kind of why they didn't buy versus just, so we always like to try and get a little bit granular with it, and then, kind of building those workflows, on top of it as much as possible. So we talked a little bit about this of, the need for notifications versus task. What we want to do, kind of for our clients is making sure that the sales reps are, adopting the tools and, from a leadership level, that you're spending money on marketing or you're generating these, kind of leads, that, you have that, kind of follow up as much as possible. And tasks are just a great way to be able to put that together, and be able to track it. And a lot of this, it can come across all different stages, but, you're typically more on the sales qualified lead or, kind of opportunity life cycle stage here from a task management standpoint. And really, what are those most important, kind of behaviors that you want to see? Like Caitlin had mentioned, it can be, viewing links, viewing emails, are they viewing, the pricing page? Have they abandoned a purchase? If you have any type of D2C, kind of business model, contact form, or maybe they're just inactive. They haven't, taken any type of action or, kind of engagement. So, going through and just identifying what's most important, I think is really critical. And then which of these behaviors actually require a task, and which of them would you rather just have, kind of the notification. And that's ultimately going to be on a case-by-case basis from a management level on what's most important and when you want to go through and actually be able to track. And then, step 3, being able to create those tasks or notifications when the leads are, kind of actual, kind of SQLs. And so those actions can be, set up in HubSpot, Asana, or, kind of a Salesforce. You can have the in-app notifications. You can have SMS notifications. You can have internal email notifications. You can also have Slack. So, the marketing automation has, thousands of integrations. The sales now has 350 plus, kind of integrations on the CRM side. So you can have Slack, you can have Asana, you can have these other tools that can also, kind of play nice. So these are all the different ways that you can be communicated about these, your leads, kind of most important, behaviors. And I think for us, we put that, kind of architecture in place just to make sure that we know what's most important for the client and what they want to be a task and what they want to be a notification, and then what type of notification too, because you just don't want to get, blasted with hundreds of notifications every day, because then some of the really important ones get lost. And so that's why I think it's important to kind of figure out exactly how you set that up and structure it. And so, from another, neat, tool from the deal stage, kind of automation, is when you're moving, these tasks from one stage to another, you can actually alert. So say you have, maybe it's a closed deal and you want to alert your accounting and finance or, legal, it can automatically create a task, for someone that's not in the sales system, to kind of let them know that that deal has actually been, kind of closed. Or, if you need to bring in, kind of an account team when it's getting closer to closed status, it can alert them when it's moved from, kind of a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead, or a sales qualified lead to an opportunity. And so a lot of these tasks and automations can be done directly in the deal stages, which is really nice, so that it's not, the sales rep just kind of doing it in the background and not informing the broader team and what's going on. So this is another, kind of automation that we, definitely recommend, kind of putting in place. It'll, I think, save a lot of time. And you can, kind of attach, kind of documents, a lot of other things, kind of to this automation as well, in addition to the task. Stale deal, this is, I think, important. And it's not to really put the sales reps under the gun or, under fire that they're not closing the deals, but we do find it's like helpful if you have, every salesperson, I think, is incredibly optimistic that they're going to close every deal. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And so how do you, kind of manage it if it's been stale for a little while, both as a manager and as a rep, with, kind of, notifications. And so there's a couple different ways to be able to set this. The deal stage has not been changed in X amount of days, and you can set whatever that parameter is that you think is most relevant. From the create date, if you have a standard, sales cycle, more than X days from when the deal was actually opened, or, when they project the close date, you could set it up as more than 0 days ago. So obviously that day has passed. And then you can set up the hierarchy where it notifies the manager on these stale deals, but also notifies the sales rep as well, that's going on. And I think it's just a really valuable exercise as a manager to be able to kind of understand where those are at. And it's nice because, yes, you can log in to the sales, and CRM and be able to see that. But I think more than anything, it just gives you those alerts in real time so that you, if you're having weekly meetings, kind of with the rep, that you're able to walk and kind of like talk through this as well. Any questions about stale deals or deal, kind of stage, kind of automation that I can answer or that wasn't covered?
I just have one quick question again. It's Julie, sorry. The notification that goes to somebody who's not in sales, they have to be in HubSpot though as a user, right? Or can it be an email that gets generated to somebody outside of the system?
It can be an email. It doesn't have to be like a sales seat person.
Okay, great. Thanks.
No problem.
All right, and then there's win back kind of opportunities that come into place as well. Again, we're in this opportunity to customer kind of stage if that deal was marked as kind of not won, and if we're clarifying that close loss kind of process and kind of putting that in place, I think this makes it much simpler, similar to what we talked about kind of previously. But the one that you can put in is just the close loss reason. That's helpful as like notes, but we really do like to create these like different properties directly in there, because then that can trigger the workflows much easier, where it's difficult to do that on the, if they're just typing that in, where we can have these, kind of different categories all the way through and be able to put that in place. And so, if you're, doing that, then we can, kind of search what it is, lost a competitor. You can even put the competitor's name in there if you would like, just to be able to kind of have that better, kind of understanding, kind of exactly what that would look like. And again, serves a purpose of the workflow, but also serves a purpose from a, kind of reporting and dashboard as well.
Is that just a pop-up when it's changed to that stage? Is that box a pop-up?
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, once you click on that, that pops up and they can fill that in. And what we do is we preset those, kind of individual properties directly within that field, and then as the sales rep's going through, they can see that when they click on that link right there.
Okay.
Well, great. Well, we're kind of like tearing through it now, keeping it a little bit more interactive. So I don't think we need to spend any time. Again, feel free to jump in if there's other, kind of questions, but we're getting towards the end of the presentation. So this, obviously happens, kind of a lot as another, kind of workflow and automation. You've lost that point of contact. This is where they're already, kind of a customer. and they've already kind of been engaged. And so you have a customer success manager, and then you have your internal champion here as part of the team that loves everything that your company's doing and is a huge advocate of the brand. But unfortunately, that champion has moved on to kind of another position and to another company. And so one workflow that we could kind of put in place or kind of automate is that left company from the customers that could be set up as a task to the sales rep. And then the sales rep can go through and determine, by some basic research, what is the new company, can create that contact or company, kind of there, determine if they're already a customer, and then be able to connect with that previous, kind of champion. And so this is just really helping the customer success team interact a little bit more fully with, kind of the sales team to be able to kind of give them that notification so that they can then go and turn a loss into a potential opportunity. And so this is an enrollment or kind of a task that you can create as a workflow to be able to create that task directly for the sales rep themselves. And so that's a lot of the workflows. And then you get I had mentioned integration, kind of enrollment. I think HubSpot has an open API. You can really do whatever you want, but a lot of them don't, come out of the gate, right away. So, one easy one, just, kind of top of mind that comes up is if you're using Slack as, kind of a tool, it's a little just underwhelming as a sales rep when you move it to closed one. I've done it plenty of times myself. And you're kind of sitting all by yourself and not really talking to anyone, but you're really proud. So you could have a integration into Slack that you could create as a workflow that when that deal stage moves to closed one, that it alerts the whole team in the Slack room. You could even customize it where you could have a Rocky theme song and confetti and a funny GIF come up every time a deal's closed. So it seems kind of silly, but just from like a culture, standpoint, I think celebrating those wins, and you can do that within an existing channel, or you could do that with just a channel dedicated to closed deals, and so that everybody's aware of it, and kind of putting in that place. And you could do it in Slack where it's not having to be necessarily like a notification, but where they're able to see that. There's a bunch of others, obviously live chat, SurveyMonkey, GoToWebinar, Eventbrite. They have about 350 now, different integrations and connections on the sales side. And you can have workflows trigger a lot of those as well, out of the gate. We have about 10 minutes if we want for discussion, Q&A. I know we covered, kind of a lot. I do feel like this is probably one of the more underutilized features of HubSpot, and feel it's a pretty incredible tool to increase that productivity and efficiency. So we have a kind of a whole team here on the PCR side to answer any questions you have, whether it's about the sales tool itself, or even just more broadly, the HubSpot tool, marketing or sales, that we're happy to kind of answer why we have a few minutes. We'll open that up for some questions if anybody has any.
Well, I won't hesitate to ask a question. So we have an interesting dilemma that we've uncovered, that we know if we've lost a client that we don't continue to bill them, but somehow we're having a difficult time managing our contacts and our lists in HubSpot when a client moves off, because I think this is back to the question I had before about can I just send an email to somebody to notify them that a deal was closed and we need to bill them, because that person is not working in HubSpot. So she doesn't go in and mark them as no longer a client. So they're still sitting on a list. So when we go to send an email out to current clients, they may get notified by us when they're not a client any longer. Any tricks or tips on how to keep up with that, or
Do you
would it just
use the life cycle stage property or the lead status stage property in HubSpot?
I think it's the life cycle stage is
Okay.
what we use.
So I recommend like maybe building an internal workflow that when, if you do lose them, they go to like closed lost, or you just go in and update their life cycle stage and take it off customer. And then like still send an email to notify whoever needs to be notified just so they have a heads up. But then I would also use that as a property when building that client list. Maybe it's like a curated list, but like lifecycle stage always has to equal customer as well. So it weeds out anybody that may have dropped off in the meantime.
So we do have that. The list is curated and it's supposed to include that property still listed as customer. The problem we're having is we're just not going in and managing that property properly. So let's say our service team finds out that that a company is going to move off the system in 6 months because they've upgraded their ERP system or something. They know it. They may make a note of it in a service ticket, but they never really do anything with it. And then we don't manage, I'm sorry about that. We don't manage it the right way, but it sounds like we can just update that property. And we need to do that every month. We just need to make sure we do that.
Maybe it's even because I think the tricky part is like in 6 months. So maybe relying on those HubSpot tasks that, make that a part of the process that when they take the client off, like they have to, update the profile record as well in HubSpot.
Yeah, I like that.
Make it more routine than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, he mentioned that earlier about having a workflow actually send out an email instead of just a task reminder to the salesperson to send an email. I love that. And I think we need to do that too.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question is like if you don't use HubSpot Task, it's not going to help you. But a lot of people use emails to manage what they have to do. And you can even, which is nice, set reminders in the emails to be sent to. So if there's like a deadline, you can like have that email sent like a few times just to remind that person if you don't want to just rely on the HubSpot task.
Okay, awesome.
Any other questions? All right. Well, yeah, if you have other questions, like I said, feel free to connect. We'll do a follow-up email with access to the presentation and everything else. And yeah, obviously we used to hold these in person in our downtown office, and we'll probably be doing these a little bit more kind of virtually. And we, like I said, to the point of like connecting with others that understand HubSpot and being able to do it outside. That's really the goal of kind of putting these on, and we usually do them kind of once a quarter, and feel free to invite other members of the team. This is purely kind of educational and just trying to promote more of kind of HubSpot in the Jacksonville community, and be a leader and advocate for the platform there. So really appreciate everybody making time in I'm sure what is a busy day, and thanks for the questions, and hopefully it was of some value, and everybody have a great rest of the week, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Jared.